Motorsport, the iconic Silverstone circuit here in Northamptonshire for the brand new GB3 Championship, a record equaling 25 drivers representing 10 teams and 13 different nationalities, and of course a brand new car for the brand new season. This is the GB3 Championship with 3 races to come this weekend here at Silverstone. A little bit overcast but not too cold. I'm John Jackson, joined as ever by former British F3 driver Piers for a brand new season, and there is so much to look forward to this season, Piers.
A lot to look forward to this year. New drivers, new car, some new tracks as well. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we have 13 different nationalities representing this year, making the GB3 Championship a global championship, and we obviously have rounds both in the United Kingdom and abroad, going abroad again this summer and ending the season at a new track for the GB3 Championship in Monza in October. So that is miles away. Let's take a look forward to the first race of the season. Qualifying has happened already. We're going to hear from the person, I'm going to keep it as a secret for now, on pole position, but Piers kind of alluded to it there. The most exciting thing for me about this new season is the brand new car. It's a seriously impressive bit of kit, and here's a little roundup of the new spec for the new car in GB3.
The GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, is run by MSV's racing arm, MSVR. The 2025 season will consist of a maximum of 30 drivers across 10 teams, driving the brand new Tatus MSV GB3 025 car. Each race weekend consists of 2 15-minute qualifying sessions, held back-to-back on Saturday, and 3 races, each of 25 minutes in duration. The grid for race 1 is decided by the first part of qualifying, and the grid for race 2 is formed by the times achieved in the second qualifying session. The third contest features the top 12 drivers from qualifying reversed on the grid, with the rest of the drivers lining up behind them in their qualifying order. There are 24 races across the season, including overseas trips to Zandvoort, Spa-Francorchamps, the Hungaroring and Monza, which is this year's season finale. The Canada starts in Silverstone this weekend, before the first of the year's overseas events in the Netherlands and Belgium in May, and the return to Hungary in July. The traditional second Silverstone event and the visit to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit both take place in August, before the penultimate rounds of the season at Donington Park at the start of October, and then the season showdown in Italy a fortnight later. There are no required pit stops in GB3, but each car is only allowed to use a maximum of 8 tyres per race weekend, the equivalent of 2 sets, meaning tyre management is critical. The prizes for GB3 include FIA Super Licence points for the top 5 drivers in this year's championship, a critical requirement for drivers aiming for Formula 1. Any driver looking to compete in Formula 1 must have accrued 40 Super Licence points over a 3-year period, and this year's GB3 champion will receive 10 points. The Jack Cavill Pole Position Cup also returns, which awards each driver securing a pole position in qualifying with a cheque of £300 and a trophy. The driver with the most poles at the end of the season receives a trophy and an extra £2,000, as does the team of the driver with the most poles. The Omologato One to Watch award will again be presented to the drivers at each round, with a prize watch on offer every weekend for the highest scoring driver across the first 2 races.
Piers, you might get the Omologato One to Watch of them. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a funny commentary joke, but I can't think of one on the fly. Lots to play for then. Freddie Slater will start on pole position for this race, so he's got 300 quid in his back pocket thanks to the pole position cup, so he'll be, he's already kind of won already this year. He's looked pretty dominant in testing, hasn't he?
He's been there or thereabouts in every testing session, and in qualifying even more dominant. Double pole position from him, and by a margin.
Yeah, real coup for Hill Speed. To get Freddie Slater, he's not doing the full season, he'll be doing 3 different rounds this season, so make the most of watching him in these first 3 races. We saw a lot of changes there to this new season. One of the things that was interesting for me was the new qualifying, 2 sort of session qualifying. Just explain why that was.
We used to have 1 session which effectively was split into 2 by the drivers coming in and changing tyres. Now it is 2 completely separate sessions, so that you have to get it right twice. And I think it's actually going to be quite a good addition to the championship, mixing up the grids a little bit. Last year, generally, we would see fastest lap time and second fastest lap time being set on the same run. So generally, if a team or driver got to grips with the circuit and the current conditions, they banged out 2 laps, that would be the grid. This year, you have to reset. The teams can make a few adjustments to the car as well, and it means the drivers have to perform twice in qualifying for those 2 races.
I think that's much better. Obviously, all the races are 25 minutes as well this year. That's the maximum length of the race. And I mean, as well as new drivers, we've got this new car. I want to ask you a question as a driver. It's a lot to get used to, I imagine, having a new car. I know last year we brought in the sort of radios, that was something else for drivers to consider, but now, you know, with all the new features of this new car, I know, you know, it's got more power, the tyres are a couple of inches thicker, which gives you, you know, more surface area on those tyres, which should give you more grip, 35% more downforce as well. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot for those drivers to get used to, but I guess when you're young, you can learn things quickly, and it's, you know, drivers take it in their stride.
Yeah, it's a big step forward for the championship, for the drivers, although we haven't got that many returning drivers, but also the teams as well, because with a new car comes a lot of development work and getting used to that new car. With the drivers as well, they have to get the most out of the extra tyre grip, the extra aero performance. We've got more power as well, but also there's more safety too, which is good to see. But making sure that the drivers are fit enough, strong enough, with that extra grip is crucial. So basically everyone's had to take a step forward this year.
Well look, much like your dad going to buy a new family car for the family when you were little, Piers went and kicked some tyres earlier.
The GB3 Championship introduces a new car to the series for 2025, the Tata's MSV GB3025. The new machine is a serious upgrade in the previous generation, with more downforce, greater power and innovations not previously seen at this level of motorsport. Key safety upgrades are also included, like the titanium halo, new front and rear crash structures, revised anti-intrusion panels and improved head and leg protection, meaning the car meets the latest FIA standards. Equipped with an F1-inspired aerodynamics package, adding 35% more downforce at the same drag level compared to the outgoing car, with new bespoke front and rear wing assemblies, powerful underbody aerodynamics and CFD-optimised aero surfaces. The most notable addition is the inclusion of the rear wing drag reduction system for the first time in GB3. The naturally aspirated 2-litre 4-cylinder mount-tune engine has received a 30 horsepower boost up to 280 horsepower, while additional grip is produced by the Pirelli tyres, which are now 2 inches wider all round. And that's the new car for GB3 in 2025.
This is the new GB3 car for 2025, the Tata's MSV GB3-025, a brand new car for 2025, and it's going to be a big step up for the championship. Pretty much an improvement in every single area: speed, performance, grip and safety. And let's have a look at the car in a bit more detail, starting with the front wing. Much wider F1 inspired design with the integrated front wing end plates. A single plane front wing which can be adjusted a fair amount, and the height of the front wing can be adjusted as well. And in this nose box we also have greater front end crash protection in the event of an accident out on circuit. Moving slightly further back, that front wing is attached to a brand new Tata's chassis as well. You can see a slightly different design there with the curved monocoque. And attached to the front of the car, you've got the front suspension and steering rack, and then bigger, wider Pirelli tyres, both front and rear. We'll look at the fronts for now. Getting those tyres up to temperature and getting the most out of those over the race weekend is going to be critical for performance on circuit. Now moving slightly further back, the driving section, the cockpit of the car. This can actually allow for slightly bigger variation in driver size, shorter and taller, so be a bit more inclusive for all types of racing driver that will be entering the GB3 Championship in 2025 and going forward. And covering the driver, we have the titanium halo. Safety of that and the rollover protection has been increased for this year, so safety improvements as well as performance improvements too. And the side impact structures on either side of the driver have also been increased. Now if you look underneath the side pods, there's plenty of underfloor downforce being created by Venturi tunnels under the car, in addition to the overbody aerodynamics that have been added for 2025. Moving slightly further back, directly behind the driver, way within the car, is the fuel cell, where the fuel is housed within the car. The safety of that, of course, is paramount, and also that also is able to be up to standard with the latest sustainable fuels as via the FIA's guidelines, and of course that's the way that motorsport is going. Directly behind that we have a 2-litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated mount-tune engine, very similar to what we've seen in previous iterations of GB3. However, this year an addition of 30 horsepower, taking us up to about 280 horsepower. So more tyre grip, more aero grip and more power for the drivers. 35% more aerodynamic grip overall for the whole car as well. So a big step up in terms of performance for the drivers. Then moving further back, another look at the wider tyres. These rear tyres are massive now. Lots of rear grip, lots of traction out of those slow corners. And again, making those last over the race weekends is going to be critical. And then finally at the back of the car, we have the newly formed rear wing. Again, once again, F1 inspired, more downforce and much increased performance in terms of aerodynamic efficiency. That 35% increase in downforce doesn't come with a huge amount of extra drag. And then you'll notice this big hump on the rear wing here, that houses this year's DRS system. 2 DRS zones here at Silverstone for the first race weekend, and DRS zones at every single circuit this season. I'm loving the look of the new GB3 car in 2025. Tatus and MSV have done an amazing job to put it together, and all that remains is to see it out on circuit.
Yeah, these tyres, Piers, they are absolutely massive. They really are. How many laps do you reckon that tyre there's done?
Probably qualifying, so
yeah.
3 or 4 flying laps.
And with this new qualifying format, Lewis McGlade, our commentator, very reliably informed me they don't actually get any extra tyres for this new format. So as a driver, that's more about sort of managing your tyres even more, I guess.
Well, in theory, yes, but actually the previous way we did it with qualifying as one session, most teams most of the time when it was dry used their 2 sets of new tyres anyway, so it's not a huge amount of difference in terms of operation for the teams with the tyres, but they've had to get used to these new wider Pirelli tyres because they will work differently to what we've had previous years.
Of course. Will they take any longer to warm up these tyres?
I actually, having looked at the practice and qualifying, it doesn't seem to have made a huge difference. If anything, this weekend have come in fairly quickly. We've seen the fastest laps come on full flying laps 3, 4, 5, maybe lap 6, which is fairly similar to what we saw last year. Of course, they are bigger, wider tyres, but we've got a slightly heavier car with more downforce, more power, so the rear tyres especially, and more overall grip. So even though they're bigger, wider tyres, they're getting worked hard at the same time. So comparatively, I think we're looking at a similar level of grip to power to aero ratio.
Do you remember the outcry there was when all the F1 teams released their cars and there was a lot of carbon fibre visible, and it was all for sort of weight limits and everything like that? This car here, I mean, that's kind of half stickered up, half carbon fibre. At this sort of level of racing, is that weight difference going to make a difference? I know the cars are quite heavy.
All the teams and every single car with their driver has to reach a minimum weight, and they should be having a little bit in spare, which they'll add ballast to the car. So the carbon fibre bear on these cars, not like in Formula 1 for weight, more just because carbon fibre looks cool and it looks fast.
It does look very cool indeed. Well, this is Freddie Slater's car. He starts on pole position. I'm looking forward to a battle between 2 potential drivers this year, and that is Freddie Slater and Deegan Fairclough. Deegan Fairclough last year pretty much set records in the championship he was running in every possible way, lap records, win records, and won the championship, and certainly a driver that's got a huge future. Obviously won the Autosport Silverstone BRDC award as well. I mean, a huge future for him. Let's hear what he had to say ahead of his first race in GB3. Well, Deegan, welcome to GB3, welcome to Silverstone. This is a track that you have pretty good results at in the past.
Yeah, no, every time we've been here has been very positive. Getting the championship win in F4 last year at this track, and then the Autosport Awards that was actually at this track. So it's always been positive, and hopefully this weekend can carry that momentum on.
How have your preparations been so far? Obviously it's a big step up into a completely different car, but I guess there's a level playing field because all of the other drivers with GB3 experience have a new car to learn as well.
Exactly, you said it. Everyone's in the same boat, trying to learn as quickly as possible, every team, finding what's the best for this car. So I've been enjoying it so far. It's just slowly chipping away.
You're a very popular guy. You've obviously done very well in the past. How do you keep level-headed coming into a new season while people are already saying, you know, this guy's the one that we need to look out for? You know, some people are saying you're the favourite.
It's a big thing to live up to, or the expectation, but it's just focusing on yourself and developing as a team together, and eventually we'll get onto pace. And yeah, I think we've been showing some strong results so far through pre-season testing, and then yeah, qualifying is the only place that matters, not testing. So just need to piece it together. Pull the finger out is what most people say.
Hey, I'll go with that. As you're new to the championship, I've got to ask you all the boring questions that I've asked all the drivers many times before. What's the goal? And I think I have an idea of what you're going to say.
Is the championship win.
And what's your big picture goal? Is that might be any chance Formula 1?
Exactly. You've said everything for me. So yeah, the ultimate goal is Formula One, and then yeah, if we can be a bit cheeky, we'll have a few World Championships in Formula One. But yeah, I think we're focusing mainly on this year. Just get this year out of the way and over and done with, and then focus on the next year and so on and so on. And who knows, we could be on a yacht in Monaco and living the dream. But without the support I've had through my career so far, especially with Rocket, and now re-signing with High Tech for GB3 is quite positive and gives me that extra confidence boost. And yeah, High Tech are in Formula 3 and F2, so hopefully we can get into them ranks.
Looks like a kind of clear pathway for you, which is really good. We hope we see you in Monaco then one day in the future. Maybe not like Kimi Räikkönen when he ditched his car and went and sat on his yacht that once. Finally, a question that I don't know the answer to. Who's your hero growing up? Who do you aspire to be like, and who got you into motorsports?
Well, who got me into motorsport was actually my dad, and I aspired Lewis Hamilton and Ayrton Senna massively as a kid in motorsport.
So world champions all the way.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, well, best of luck here at Silverstone to start the season and for the rest of the campaign.
Perfect, thank you.
There we go, Deegan Fairclough, one of the very fancied drivers starting off this GB3 season. You can see in shot right now another of the new drivers, Gianmarco Pradel for Rodin. We've got a mixture of new drivers, as we've seen there, and also returning drivers. And back down in 18th, a disappointing qualifying, but it's good to see Hugo Schwarzer back on the grid. Great to see you back here at Silverstone, a track that you've raced at before. How sort of quick did this all come together? Because we weren't maybe expecting to see you on the grid this weekend until very recently.
Yeah, it was quite a last-minute decision. I was out in the car a couple of weeks ago with VRD just doing some development testing, and yeah, the team was really happy with how I drove, how I developed the car. So they asked me to come back.
Would you have maybe preferred a little bit more lead time, a bit more prep into coming into the season?
I'm very spontaneous, so if I get the call, I'll be there.
I like that. I like the idea that anyone could call you anywhere in the world and you will come and drive whatever it is. Yeah. Now, obviously, you're here for this weekend at the moment. Do you think there'll be more along the line?
Obviously, we'll see after the weekend, and that will be quite spontaneous as well. But you might see me again.
We would love to see you again. Obviously, we hope it goes well this weekend. We know you've been back home in Germany. We know you've been doing your studies. Let us just know into an insight into your world and how you kind of manage studies with racing.
Yeah, so last year I missed loads of school, so I had to catch that all back up in the winter. So it was lots of studying, lots of sitting at home at my desk. Bit lonely, but that's how it is in the off season. And then it was just waiting a couple of months to get back in the car finally.
I imagine it's quite distracting when you've got like a sim there, or you've got the opportunity to go and drive, versus writing an essay or studying maths.
Yeah, anytime I'm sat at the desk and doing anything really, schoolwork or anything, I've got the sim right behind me, so it is really tempting.
What do you think is achievable this weekend then? Obviously a little less practice than some of the other drivers out there, but you have raced in this championship before.
Yeah, so I think the aim for this weekend was to develop the car with the team. Obviously, the new car is all about getting the right setup and finding the last couple of steps. So this weekend will be all about getting the most out of myself in the car. I'd be happy with the top 10, but let's see where we are.
Well, look, we hope we see you for more races than just these 3 here at Silverstone. But if these are the only races you do this season, go well and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Great to see Hugo back on the grid. One of 13 different nationalities represented. Of course, Hugo being a German driver. We'll catch up with more of the drivers as the weekend goes on. We'll hear from Freddie Slater, the pole sitter, in just a second as well. But we are back at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport. So let's just remind ourselves of this iconic track.
And so it's the home of British motorsport then that opens the GB3 Championship for 2025. The iconic circuit with iconic corners as well. Maggots, Beckers and Chapel, of course, Copse, the run into Stowe. You've got the Abbey Village Loop section as well, and then round towards Brooklands. Of course, new for 2025 is those 2 DRS activation points, one on the Hanger Straight and one on the Wellington Straight as well. Round Luffield and out through Woodcote onto the start-finish straight, which of course is on the national side. 18 turns around here, of which plenty are great for overtaking. Most notably that Village Loop section. Those TDRS zones though, they're going to be very, very big when it comes to overtaking around this 3.6 mile, 5.8 kilometre circuit to open the season.
Let's ride on board the brand new car for 2025, the MSV GB3 025 car with Excel Motorsport's Dion Gouda. 35% more downforce than we had last year allows us to go easily flat through Copse Corner. Towards Maggots and Beckett's now, once again, completely flat through Maggots and just a slight lift through Beckett's Corner, opening up the entry of Chapel. Down one more gear, use all the curb at the apex and then the curb on the exit. We head into our first DRS zone, new for 2025 as well. DRS will be wide open in qualifying and if you're within a second of the car ahead in the races to improve overtaking down towards Stowe. All of the road on the left-hand side, off camber through the apex. Easy to run wide on the exit here. Dion does just about stay within track limits. We go down to Vale now, braking hard. 3 gears down, second gear through the apex. Keep it left to open up the first apex of Club, trying to keep it flat out if possible. We now head through onto the Hamilton Straight, flat out through here past the hotel and the wing. The next corner is Abbey, a bit of curb on the left to open up the entry, and we grab 6th gear at the apex, completely flat out once again as we bring ourselves to the left for the entry of Village. Braking and turning, an overtaking opportunity in the race and tricky to get right in qualifying. Back to the right-hand side for the loop. Using all of the extra grip we've got from the wider Pirelli tyres to get the power down on the exit here. Flat out once again through Aintree onto the second DRS zone here at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Another overtaking opportunity going in towards Brooklands. All the curb on the right-hand side to open up the entry of Brooklands. Braking and turning, the steering gets very heavy here. That's when the driver's training in the pre-season comes into play. The last corner of Luffield, trying to make it back for the second apex. Doesn't quite do it on this lap, but that won't hurt his lap time. And we head through Woodcote for a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the new, faster and improved GB3 car.
So there we go, a track that some people will know very well, some people would love to know more about, and hopefully that explained it to you. We can see Freddie Slater now, the pole sitter, just getting strapped into his car here. And Piers, he was with us for a race last time out, last year in 2024 at Donington, and you've seen him racing actually a few times recently with your escapades.
Yeah, of course. I got the chance to commentate on some Formula 3 and Formula 2, and Freddie.
Oh, someone's doing well.
Yeah. Freddie Slater made his Formula 3 debut at Bahrain and was very good getting a podium in the sprint race and was fighting for the lead, and we've seen that he's carried that form over to this weekend. Of course, double pole sitter and but pretty dominant.
Yeah, as I say earlier, a real coup for Hillspeed to have him racing for them this year, and I believe, Piers, you caught up with him after qualifying.
Freddie, pole position for both race 1 and race 2, qualifying that record around here. That must be a good way to start your GB3 campaign in 2025.
Yeah, it was pretty special out there, to be honest. I just felt so in the rhythm as soon as I left the pits, and had a good tyre warm up, obviously with the colder conditions this morning compared to FP2 yesterday, and then got on with it, and then just kept putting in the laps in, and yeah, just had that flow, that rhythm, felt one with the track, if I'm being honest. Everything just felt good, and I could just keep pushing, and Hillspeed and my engineer, Mr. A, gave me an unreal car to try and go for that lap record, obviously with a new car. So no, honestly, a massive thank you to them for giving me the opportunity to do laps like that.
Clearly you're enjoying driving this new car around Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
I couldn't think of a better track and better car combination, if I'm being honest, at the moment, because through Maggots and Beckett's it's unreal. So no, it's going to be good fun, and look forward to the races.
Let's just touch on the margin for a second. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I think it may well be the largest pole position margin, definitely in the drive we've had in GB3. And in the second qualifying session, you did a lap with 3 yellow sectors that still would have been good enough for pole. So that must be good for your confidence going into the races.
Yeah, I hope it's the biggest margin ever, but yeah, we'll find out on that one. But honestly, I could just kind of in the Q2, I could kind of bring everything back a little bit, not risk the track limits as much, because obviously what happened in Q1, I knew I had the pace, you know. So yeah, Q2 was solid. It was a clean lap. It was well built into the session, and yeah, overall pretty positive.
What's your plan going into the races now?
Get stuck in and try and win the races. That's as much. And then I'm also looking forward to a reverse grid, because yeah, what a better way to finish off the weekend.
Freddie, congratulations, double pole. We'll see you on track.
Thank you very much.
Well, you'll know Freddie Slater not only because he's on pole position, but because he's got that very nice half grey carbon fibre, half red Hillspeed car, which will be, be very nice for you on commentary, I'm sure, because it's a very, very striking car. We need to talk about some of the other drivers on the grid, and actually 2 female drivers that you'll know very well if you know the F1 Academy. Of course, Abby Pulling driving with Rodin. She qualified incredibly well, 4th position for this first race, and as the reigning F1 Academy champion, we know she's got it in her to win races and win championships.
It's really impressive qualifying for Abby. Big step up into GB3. These
And so it's time to begin the journey once again as we head to the birthplace of Grand Prix racing here in Great Britain. Of course, as the home of British motorsport, it is the Silverstone circuit at 5.6 kilometres all the way around. It is one of the greatest racetracks on planet Earth. We're going to have some great racing this weekend, of course. Let's take a look at the circuit before we jump into the action. Of course, Maggots, Beckers and Chapel, one of the most iconic sequences in the world of motorsport. Going through Stowe, then through the Vale Chicane and out through Club onto the Hamilton Straight. Abbey, then we go through the Farm, Village and Loop section into the second DRS sector into Brooklands. Of course, Luffield there and Woodcote to complete the lap on the national side of this Grand Prix circuit. Of course, we'll be coming here twice in the season, so a good little benchmark for the drivers to keep their eye on around the 18 turns of the Silverstone circuit. 3.6 miles, just under 6 kilometres in totality. That is the location we will be doing action for the first weekend of 2025. My goodness, it is so good to be back, ready to go. The conditions, they're not amazing, but it's all right out there. Of course, here in the comedy box, it's myself, Lewis McGlade. It's Piers Pryor alongside, as I'm sure you're well used to. And there is our pole sitter, Freddie Slater. How unbelievable was he in qualifying? 2 qualifying sessions this season, unlike previous years, and he dominated both.
Absolutely dominated it. Had a good margin over the rest of the field. 5 tenths clear on this first qualifying session. 5.5 tenths. But when you consider that the next, I don't know how many cars, the next 7 or 8 cars were covered by half a second. That shows the level of dominance he had in this one.
Indeed. It's the Hill Speed then of Freddie Slater that's going to be starting for pole position. We'll roll through the starting grid once they begin this formation up. You can see there the white and kind of purple and pink cars in there. Excel, a new team, of course. We also have those black, white and blue cars you can see there in the middle of shot right now. That's the Argenti with Prema. So a couple of new teams as well to join us, along with, I think, John Jackson calculated it as 17 drivers that have not touched the GB3 Championship, making their debut this weekend in this brand new car. And my goodness me, does it look pretty?
I love it. I love it. F1 inspired with its aerodynamics, its wings. And it goes around as well as it looks as well. They're a little bit bigger in terms of footprint on the road, but with more aerodynamics means more grip in the high speed and also more grip in the low speed and more power.
Well, here we go. Let's take a look at the starting grid then for the first race of the season. Smashing the lap record, it was Freddie Slater who'll be starting alongside Gianmarco Prado on the front row. Noah Lyle will start alongside Abby Pulling for the Rodin Motorsport team. And there's already some drama on the grid. We'll come back to that one in a moment though, as Alex Ninovich, one of the practice sessions coming into this, starts alongside Nikita Johnson for the high-tech TGR team, no longer high-tech Pulse 8. Guy Darianani will start from 7th position on debut with Hayo Yamakoshi from 8th position. And the final 2 positions inside the top 10 are Kanato Lee and Dion Gowder. Of course, it's a 25-car grid though, so there's still plenty more for us to get through. Patrick Puisenroda and Will McIntyre will start from the 6th row of the grid, and then in 13th position it will be Keanu Al-Azari starting alongside Lucas Fluxer, who'll be starting from 14th position. It's Deegan Fairclough, by the way, who's being rolled back in. We'll talk about it in a second. Reza Sawarith then will start from 15th position. Deegan Fairclough was originally slated to start alongside, but is back into pit lane. Shuey will start from 17th position with Hugo Schwarzer in 18th down there. And the 10th row of the grid, Mika Abrams and, of course, Jack Sherwood. One driver who we saw a lot of in GB4 back in 2022. Darvanical will start from 21st position alongside Bustamante, who unfortunately will not be taking to the start of the race. Again, we'll update you with more on that in a second. Flynn Jacks alongside Didi Nandan from 24th position. And the final row of the grid will have Stefan Bostangiev. So, already drama. Bianca Bustamante unfortunately had an issue in qualifying, had a bit of an incident, and she will not be taking to the grid in this race. One driver clearly also missing from the grid, Deegan Fairclough on debut.
Deegan has been dragged into the pits. Remains to be seen whether he'll get that car underway from the pit lane. He may still make it out in this race, but not from his originally advertised grid slot. Bianca Bustamante, too much damage in qualifying. Team working extremely hard. Elite Motorsport to get that car on the grid, couldn't quite manage it. She should be out again tomorrow, but I am looking forward to this, Lewis. A new chapter in the GB4 Championship, a new car, lots of new drivers. So far, the Hill Speed
of Freddie Slater looked like the one to beat. But I said it with Johners, but I'll say it again. Qualifying is one thing, racing is another. No one has ever raced one of these cars before, so it all remains to be seen how tyre management and dirty air will come into play. Hopefully with the amount of underfloor, downforce these cars produce compared to the over-the-wings, we should be able to see them follow fairly closely. Silverstone is a very high-speed circuit, so getting inside that dirty air is what can potentially become tricky for the drivers, and managing that is something that the drivers have to do and learn as they move up the motorsport ladder.
Yeah, it's one of 6 rounds that we'll be doing in 2025 that's taking part at a Grand Prix venue. Of course, we visit here twice. We have our little overseas trips. Of course, we'll be finishing the season at Monza. We've got the Hungarian, we've got Spa, and we've got Zandvoort. Freddie Slater then from pole position for Hill Speed. One quick note on that. For Rodin Motorsport, who'll be starting from 2nd, 4th and 5th. And guess what? Freddie Slater, he's a Rodin driver as well. So for Rodin, things are starting very, very well. Obviously, Rodin affiliated. That's where he races elsewhere. So, yeah, things are looking pretty solid for them. All of the 25 cars then, or well, 23, are in position and ready to go for the first race of the season. And this new era of GB3 begins with Freddie Slater leading us off from pole position in that Hill Speed. Straight into the first corner. There's a bit of attack, I believe, from Abby pulling on the inside of that first corner, as you've got Alizari in that BWT car going slightly out wide as they work their way down into the first section of Magnus, Beckers and Chapel. The number 11 there of Noah Lyle has gone up from third position into second in that orange highlighted JHR Developments car. He's the big mover on lap number 1.
Yeah, Noah Lyle managed to get a run out of turn number 1 and was actually slightly alongside Freddie Slater going through Magnus and Beckers, but a brilliant run through the first sector sees Slater a little bit clear. Lyle now looking in the mirrors. We've got side by side battling further down the order. That's one of the XL cars. The 25 looking to the outside of Nikita Johnson is also around the outside. Keanu Alizari goes around 2 cars at Stowe, a wobble further back, but we're all through cleanly in the first of this new GB3 Championship.
Yeah, had Stefan Bostanchiev in the background in that red and silver car trying to work his way up the order. There is the distinctive pink of Alizari trying to get his way down the inside 4 wide with a bit of the Argenti with Prema cars, those silver and the white and blue cars going a little bit of a battle in the background. We'll update you with who and where in just a few moments time as they work their way through Abbey. What is the first corner, of course, when we run the British Grand Prix here, of course, in the summer. Of course, is halfway through the lap for us as we take a look at this battle a little bit further down the pack. There's a big move to the inside as a bit of a squeeze. Alizari going out wide. You've got the number 25 as well in the middle of all of that being Dion Gowder trying to work his way into the mix with a big kick of oversteer. He could be passed here by the 37, that black and yellow car of Will McIntyre.
Yeah, the bright pink car of Keanu Alizari's, but it's very racy, making up a few positions there. And unfortunately, the Hill Speed in the red livery there, we saw a little chink to the inside on the exit of the loop, and he's lost the front end nose boxes up the inside. That's close through the apex of Brooklands. That's the 83 going through up the inside on Nikita Johnson. That's Derianani, Kai Derianani. He's sorry, the 88, my mistake. Kai Derianani for JHR. That's a good move. But the front of the field is still Slater from Lyle and then Pradel and Ninovic.
Yeah, and it's a 1.8 second margin already in this race from Freddie Slater, who's pulling away from the rest of the field. They've got one of the XL cars there going wide. That might have been Dion Gowder as they work their way through. So DRS enabled here, so we're ready to go racing. Let's see if we can see any moves as we head our way down into Stowe. We've got 4 tenths of a margin between second and third position, but an enormous gap for our race lead. Freddie Slater starting out in the way that we expect. There we go. The wing is open for Will McIntyre there in the number 37 as the snake begins heading down into Stowe.
Into Stowe they go, braking hard. The DRS opening up and allowing the XL Motorsport car to go up the inside. That's Hoytsenroder, is it? That's going around the outside now. You can see the rear wing shaking as Hoytsenroder maybe just catches the rear brakes and locks the rear tyres. Hoytsenroder on the inside of Konato Lee through Stowe and putting him through on the exit of Club as well. But now he's having to defend going down towards Abbey.
Yeah, it's Konato Lee that has that damage on the front end of that car. Joined in the fight by the 66 of Yamakoshi as well. So the 66 being the second of those Hill Speed cars, and that one being a fight for about 10th and 11th position if you really want to chuck Will McIntyre into that one as well, though McIntyre is checking out. This really is the fight for 11th position. You've got Fluxer as well behind, who could be going for a bit of a move here in the white and blue and black car there of the Argenti with Prema. Remember, that is a brand new team for 2025 as he tries to get past Yamakoshi in the 66 Hill Speed car, the red and black one, defending and keeping 13th position at the moment.
Yeah, we cut back to Alizari in that bright pink car. It's very easy to spot on circuit. He's a a young Formula One protege with the BWT livery on that car. Great to see so many Formula One liveries as Lewis waves goodbye to Freddie Slater at the front of the field as he's pulling even further clear. 2.5 seconds now as we enter lap number 3. That is a statement of intent from Freddie Slater. Pole position by a gap and pulling away from the rest of the field. His fastest lap was half a second quicker than anyone else on that last time by.
I don't think I've been as annoyed as I presently am about how good someone is. Freddie Slater is unreal as he is running away from a grid of very, very competent drivers. Noah Lyle is an unbelievable talent. Of course, I know Deacon Fairclough, who's out there on the grid as well, trying to race. Obviously, he's the British Formula 4 champion. You've got a lot of good talent out on this grid. Abby Pulling, F1 Academy champion. And Freddie Slater is making everyone look a little bit average as here comes a move then to the inside from one of the high-tech cars. That is the number 7. Of course, that's Deacon Fairclough, the driver I was just talking about. Yeah, Fairclough actually making up a few spaces from his pit lane start, which is good to see. He was up to 21st at the start of this lap. Make that 20th now, just as he gets past. I think that will be Flynn Jacks. He made his way through there on, if I'm not mistaken. Also, you can see a Red Bull livery there. It's good to see Enzo Tarvanical for VRD, if I'm not mistaken. He's joining the season this year. Red Bull Sport driver has now another move. That's a 7. That is Fairclough. 2 moves on this lap alone. That's up to 19th now, as I think he makes his way past Abraham. So that's a great lap for Fairclough after a disappointing start, clearly showing that he's got great pace at this stage of the race. We cut back to the front, and it looks like actually the number 4 of Johnson's putting some pressure on Darianani. Yeah, that's the battle for 6th position where Darianani is currently holding on. There's Deacon Fairclough with a big move down the inside. That's very aggressive on the Red Bull car, and that's Deacon Fairclough making yet another move, getting past Tarvanical and up into 17th position. He's not lost any confidence despite that issue at the start of the race, which saw him start from the pit lane. He has been flying up the order in the opening 3 laps of proceedings here in the opening race of 2025, but he is making some serious progress, and I think we're going to see a lot of big moves from Deacon Fairclough. I remember his first season in British Formula 4, and he was aggressive, let's put it that way. Really controlled it in the second season, and I think he's going to control it here, but he's going to use that aggression, that young power, that he can be a bit aggressive. He can get his elbows out a little bit. Very excited to see what he can get up to in 2025, despite, obviously, the drama to start the season. Yeah, no lack of overtaking confidence as we see Lee and his teammate, the 66 of Yamakoshi, going side by side through Stowe. Yamakoshi managing to hold it around the outside, gaining that position. Potentially Lee ever so slightly hampered by that damage to the front end. It won't make a huge difference to the downforce, but certainly add a little bit of drag with that front nose structure just being ever so slightly damaged. But the fight of the hill speed cars between them currently goes to Yamakoshi as their teammate currently romps away at the front of the field. Slater now 3.2 seconds by. Also looking at the previous lap, Fairclough made 3 spaces and his lap time was still good enough to be well within inside the top 10. So as we see another move into Village from the number 7 high-tech TGR car of Fairclough. So that puts him up to, I would imagine, somewhere about 17th. So that was on Sherwood. Yeah, he's just got past the XL car of Jack Sherwood, who was one of the best overtakers, by the way, in the 2022 GB3 Championship, which we had the joy of commentating on. That was obviously the first ever season of GB4. Jack Sherwood coming from that way. Once again, very aggressive. Hugo Schwarzer is in that charcoal grey VRD car just ahead of the silver on the high-tech that we're seeing here of Deacon Fairclough, and Hugo Schwarzer that's currently hanging on to 16th position. I don't think he's going to be hanging on to it for much longer as they head their way back out onto the start-finish straight through Woodcote. There could be a look down the inside here at Copse, but that might be a little bit too aggressive for Deacon Fairclough. He might wait for the DRS zone and the run down into Stowe, but it's an excellent start of the race. He runs out wide though at Copse corner. He's got to be careful. Fairclough is pushing that car very hard. We saw into Brooklands. He really yanked the steering and braked very, very narrow into the corner. You can see him taking slightly different lines, trying to get some air on the front end of his car, but actually looking up the inside of Chapel is probably going to put him out of position, and he's going to be under pressure from the XL car in the white, blue and pink of Sherwood behind who he passed a lap ago. Sherwood's going to have the DRS, so does Fairclough. Sherwood's popping out to the outside in the slipstream of the car in front. Can Fairclough hold him off? Yes, he can. I think at this stage in the race, Fairclough is definitely faster, but it's choosing your moves wisely in a race like this is how you're going to gain as many positions as possible. So far, pretty good, but a slight mistake, I think, there from Fairclough. saw the number 29 there of Mika Abrahams in the white and red Fortec car having a bit of a battle. I think maybe even losing a spot in doing so. Of course, he's behind Tar Vanakel, and I do believe he's lost a position out to Shui, who's now up, I believe, inside the top 20. Of course, there's 8 laps left to go, or really from where we are, 7.5 laps. You might note from previous years, of course, in GB3, that's about 3 laps longer than we normally run. That's because the races, all races this weekend will be the same length. They're all estimated to be around or aiming towards the 25-minute mark. That is the maximum length of time of the race, which does mean that the race lap count is then longer than the normal races, which were aiming to be about 20 minutes in the previous few years. And I think that's a great call. We want those races to be longer. Of course, the third race last year was 25 minutes, and I think it was kind of needed. Now that we've got basically the whole weekend has these longer races, it means tyre management. You've got to manage them so much more this season. You've got 2 qualifying sessions to get through, and effectively you've got 10 more minutes of racing roughly over the weekend.
10 minutes doesn't sound like long, but on a soft, slick Pirelli tyre like we have in the GB3 Championship, you certainly feel that as a driver, as pushing the track limits once again. Fairclough on the exit of Copsey. Better keep an eye on his track limits, and actually I've just seen a warning flag. Is that for? Yes, that is a track limit warning for Fairclough, and that was displayed just before he went wide, so he's going to be close to a track limit penalty if he does that too many more times. But yes, you were mentioning tyres, a lot more distance the tyres have to cover, a lot more the thought that the drivers have to put in to conserve their tyres. They've still got tyres left at the end of race 3. Of course, 2 full sets of tyres only for qualifying and the 3 races.
Now, you've also got to remember there, by the way, so obviously the track limits warning for not only Deegan Fairclough but also for Jack Sherwood. Deegan Fairclough did have, I believe it was 2 laps removed in qualifying, courtesy of track limit excursions. There is your race leader then, the Hillsby car, black and red, Freddie Slater. I mean, you can't miss him, although, to be fair, I guess in this case you can miss him. He's 4 seconds clear of the rest of the field. I'll update you with the order. It's Noah Lyle then that sits in second position, with Gianmarco Prado, who's dropped back from the front row into third. It's Ninovic then pulling, who's dropped back into 5th. Then Darianani, Johnson, Alazari, McIntyre and Dion Gowder, the top 10.
Yeah. Rodin having a good race in this one, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Clearly the highest scoring team at this stage. Don't want to jinx it, still only halfway or just over halfway now into this race, but as a collective they are nose to tail. And also great to see Abby Pulling coming into the championship. Of course, a lot of exposure from her Formula 1 Academy antics last year, championing that and really championing females in motorsport. Also, I believe mentored by Alice Powell. I saw her on the grid giving her some words of advice. Alice, of course, a great ambassador for females in motorsport and a previous driver herself as well.
Confirmation of another fastest lap coming in from Freddie Slater, who continues to assert his dominance at the start of this GB3 campaign. There is Abby Pulling, the trio of the Rodin team, sat behind Noah Lyle, of course, in that JHR Developments car, the number 11 that currently holds on to 2nd position. This is the fight for 2nd position. So you've got the number 11 there of the JHR Developments car, that's Noah Lyle. The yellow highlighted Rodin car, that is Prado. Then you've got effectively the blank highlighted, if you want to classify as that, the white highlighted car of Ninovic, and then you have that run down to the pink highlighted car of Abby Pulling. He's just dropped off the rear end of her teammates, but I don't think that's too much of a problem. To be fair, at this point, if you're not looking for any of those aggressive moves early on, I would say dropping back and looking after your tyres, playing the long game for this weekend. We've got 2 races tomorrow. That's 50 minutes roughly of racing. Yeah, I want to be looking after my tyres right now.
Certainly, and it's top 12 reverse in race 3, and Pulling will get the advantage of that reverse. Whoa. We see a little look up the inside. Ninovic just feigning to the inside in the mirrors of Pradel. These two have been almost inseparable, the 2 Australasian drivers for Rodin. They've been very, very close in terms of lap time all through testing it here and at other circuits. And it's going to be an interesting inter-team battle between these 2 this season. Who knows where they'll end up in the championship as the year goes on. But if they're fighting like this, then it's going to be entertaining for the rest of the year, that's for sure.
I remember the first full season of GB3, which was 2022. Of course, that was when it was rebranded to GB3 from the BRDC Formula 3 series. The first full season of that, we were racing at Alton Park in the very first race. And obviously it was Carlin back then rather than Rodin. But I do remember there were 2 teammates that were doing battle, and they had quite a significant crash at Alton Park. Of course, those teammates for that team was Callum Voisin and Javier Segura. Of course, Callum Voisin racing now in Formula 3 and looking very, very strong. And of course, did go on to win the championship here in GB3 back in 2023. And it's just one of those things to kind of look at. We were pointing out some of the stats when we were talking about this between us before we went live, that Rodin have won the last 2 Drivers' Championships, of course, one in the form of Callum Voisin and then the other in the form of Louis Sharp last year. So there is potential that the Rodin team are the one to be in as we look back to Al-Azhari. This is the 8th position at the moment, that bright pink BWT car that currently hangs on to 8th position. The 37 of Will McIntyre running in behind, who's moved over, of course, from high-tech over to Elite for the 2025 season.
Yes, it's good to see McIntyre back on the grid. He was very strong at points last year, but just lacked a little bit of consistency. Moving teams this year, he'll be looking to regain that consistency that he displayed in previous championship campaigns and other series. We know how fast he can be. It's also going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to a new team environment, because he'd been working with high-tech TGR for a number of seasons in this and previous championships as well. But of course, these drivers, they have to learn how to work with a new group of guys, because a lot of times when they're moving up categories and up series, they may stay within the same team, but they'll have a new group of drivers. As we cut back to the number 7 of Fairclough, his climb up to the field has somewhat stagnated. It's been a great drive from last plus some to 17th, but he's not quite closing on to the back of the drivers ahead quite as quickly as he once was. I think it is Schwarzer ahead at the moment in the VRD car.
Yeah, we've seen him attempt a couple of moves, but obviously struggled. There was that big one where he went through Maggotts, Beckers and Chapel, a slightly different line, and that's what dropped him back off the rear end of Hugo Schwarzer. I will say, though, at least from what I've been seeing in testing, as much as Deegan Fairclough has come into this as basically, honestly, one of the favourites. Like, everyone's been looking at him being like, oh, this guy, obviously, he's won British F4, he looks incredibly fast. The problem is, though, that pressure's not really worked out for him, and also he's not really gelled with this car. He did qualify in 13th, then got dropped back to 16th. So effectively, despite starting from the pit lane, he's returned to where he was effectively supposed to start this race from. That's a solid drive, but obviously this is a driver who's expected to win. He's not going to be remotely satisfied. Yeah,
I think they've not been quite as quick as they have been at other circuits. They were testing at Donington, and it seemed like the high-tech TGR cars were a little quicker there, and we're going to see some of that throughout the year. We've always had it that some teams and drivers get on top of different circuits slightly better than others, and I'm talking about small margins here. You know, the championship has always been so close. As we got a replay of Fairclough running wide on the exit of Luffield there, so potentially that's why he's dropped off the back of Schwarzer slightly on that previous lap. I'm also seeing a warning come in, a 5-second time limit, time penalty for Stefan Bostangiev for track limits. So he's down in 22nd place and will drop 5 seconds further back from where he currently is. So that would put him behind Jax. Only back one place. Divinandan at the back of the field, just outside of that range.
Yeah, indeed. So, like I say, a couple of notes to be going out then for some of the drivers. Of course, they do have radios and such, which they can be communicated on from race control and the team. So, I'm sure they'll have those messages passed. They don't just have to wait until the pit boards as they head out onto the start-finish straight. 5 seconds the lead now as yet another fastest lap. Can he calm down for a second? Freddie Slater he's like half a second a lap faster every single time we go round this circuit. There's confirmation of the 5-second time penalty for car number 23. So that one being passed out to Bostangiev, who did have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 laps removed from qualifying, courtesy of track limit violations.
We saw Bostangiev out at Donington in GB4. He was getting some pre-season race prep, and he was looking pretty racy in that. Hasn't quite got to full grips with this new GB3 car as of yet. I'm sure we'll see him rise up through the order as the season goes on. He's got a lot of experience in sports cars, actually, Lamborghini Super Trofeos and the like. He's been fairly successful around Europe in those types of things, but a whole different kettle of fish is single-seater slicks and wings racing. We were chatting to him at Donington Park for GB4, and he was saying he's having to really change the way he's driving the car to make it suit the way that these cars need to be driven, but also he's struggling a little bit to get to use of, right, what do I need to change in my driving to get the car to work, and also how do I change the car so that it suits my driving style as well. And that's a balance that these drivers need to find, because drivers like Freddie Slater at the front of the field, who are driving different cars week in, week out, as we've already seen Slater out at the Formula Regional UAE, we've seen him in Formula 3, we will see him in the likes of Formula Regional as well this year. Jumping from one car to the next, you need to be able to drive to the car's limit, but also get the car to drive the way you like it as well, because each driver likes different things, you know, maybe a little bit more front end on the way in, maybe a little bit more settled on the rear on the way out. Just little bits and pieces to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah, indeed. This, by the way, is the fight for the final position inside the top 10. Not this one directly, but if you really want to throw into it, Dion Gouda, who is the car that's slightly broken away from this group in that white, purpley, pink XL car. Dion Gouda is in 10th position, then it's Patrick Huizenrode, and then it's Yamakoshi and Kanato Lee directly behind. There is also Lucas Fluxer, who is also in that battle. So the fight for the final position in the top 10 is on with 2 laps left to go. The fight for second place is also on with 2 laps left to go, because here comes Gianmarco Pradel, of course, who is desperate to work his way back up into second position, which is where he started this race, nonetheless. And of course, it was Noah Lyle who made that good start and was able to work his way through on the opening lap of proceedings.
It was a good run away from the line from Lyle, and that got him into position down on the outside of turn 1. Actually had a quick nibble at the back of Freddie Slater, but that was all Slater had to deal with. But then ever since then, it's been the Rodin duo, the Australian Rodin duo, chasing down the JHR Australian drivers. We've got an Australian 2, 3, 4 at the moment in this race, bookended by Brits of Slater and Pulling. But it looks like Ninovic has just dropped off the back of Pradel, not being able to hold with these two ahead, unless he's being a little bit tactical, thinking, Ninovic thinking, I can't get through on my teammate here. I'll consolidate a 4th place, potentially save a little bit in terms of tyres. That will remain to be seen. But at the moment, it looks like Pradel just trying to keep the pressure on Lyle at the front, or if it's at the front, other than this man right here. Trying to keep the pressure on Lyle just to see if he can push him into a mistake and slot through into second place. I think they'll see it as the best of the rest, because this man at the front of the field, Freddie Slater, has looked fairly imperious. Another fastest lap on that last lap. He's literally setting purple sectors for fun at the moment. His last lap was a good 6/10 faster than Lyle, 3.5 tenths faster than Pradel, and he's done that pretty much every lap of the race so far, and that's why he's 6 seconds clear. Nearly the whole start finish straight.
He finally didn't set a fastest lap though, so at least there's that. It's something for the teams. It's still faster than everyone else though, so don't worry about it. As out wide there goes Noah Lyle. So second position, just running out a touch wide at the first corner at Copse. Would you say Pat Huizenrode maybe sitting there thinking, oh, I'd love to be up there with my Australian countryman. Of course, he sat down 11th position, as you say. Australians running second through 4th, and of course they're about to do battle here at Silverstone, but there's just no opportunity to unfold. I've got to say, it's because Noah Lyle, he's driving really, really well here. He's defending, well, effectively he's not defending, which is why he's staying on the racing line and staying fast. He's
doing exactly what he needs to do. If you defend when the driver behind is too far back, all you're doing is giving them more of an opportunity to get closer. He's using the fact that there is a little bit of dirty air coming off the back of these cars, as we see Pradel sliding his way through Vale Corner and pushing on to try and close that gap. He's realised, Lyle, that even though that Pradel is within DRS, if he can keep him at just about arm's length, then Pradel isn't going to be close enough into any of the main overtaking areas where you're looking at the likes of Stowe, Vale, and this corner we're coming into Village. If he's just that far back, then Pradel isn't close enough to make a move, and therefore all he has to do is drive his racing line, get good exits, hit the apex, and not make any mistakes. And talking of lack of mistakes, this man at the front, Freddie Slater, I've been looking at the lap times and the sector times. He's only dropped off on these last couple of laps, and I think it's a tactical, I've won this race, I'll just roll home. Because his last lap was 4 tenths faster than his best lap, but that was still exactly the same time as our driver in second place.
Well, what a perfect way to start 2025. He's not made a mistake in qualifying. He dominated that. He's not made a mistake in the race. He's dominated that. It's Freddie Slater then taking the first victory of 2025 by an unreal margin. It's a long way back to Noah Lyle, who comes across the line in second position, with Gianmarco Pradel coming across the line in third. It's the trio of Rodin in third, fourth and fifth, with Ninovic and Pulling behind. And there was a switch late on as Darian gets promoted up, although that was corrected now on the timesheet. So it is Al-Azhari, then McIntyre, then Darianani before we get to Dion Gouda at the back end of the top 10. But 7 seconds, still pulled it out by a further 0.3 of a second at the end of the race there. It was Freddie Slater's day here at Silverstone. He is absolutely dominated. Just a perfect way for him to start 2025. Like you said, it was qualifying on pole position by half a second, then 0.4 of a second, and basically he kept up that half a second margin every single lap throughout this entire race, and yeah, it just looked basically completely unbeatable. And I think that's probably a bit of a concern for the rest of the field coming into the second race, which will be, of course, tomorrow morning. And even, do you know what? Even that third race on of the weekend, on Sunday afternoon, could he win that? Could he become the first ever driver in GB3's history to win all 3 races on one weekend? It has not happened before. I mean, let's keep our eyes on that. He's a super talent to keep an eye on for the future, and he's proved that with that qualifying session. He's proved that with where he's been in the race as well. And like you say, but give a shout out, of course, to the rest of the field. Deacon Fairclough did get up to 17th. He couldn't get his way past Hugo Schwarzer, so it was still a solid recovery drive for him up the order. Then, of course, we had a few drivers that were looking quite strong earlier on in the race, maybe dropped off a little bit. Abby Pulling, good result with the 5th place. Shaw finished about 1.6 seconds behind Ninovic, but I do get the feeling there might have been the communication to the Rodent team to maybe separate themselves a little bit, allow Gianmarco Prado to go on the attack of Noah Lyle, and also, again, conserve your tyres. Remember, they only get 8 tyres across the weekend. That has to go through not 1, but 2 qualifying sessions, and that has to go through all 3 races, of which are all the same distance this year. They're all 12 laps. They're all roughly 20 or so minutes in length. Of course, whilst we say 25 minutes, that race was 21 minutes in length. It's still longer than we'd normally get in GB3. But of course, that's to give you a little bit of room in case there's a safety car, so that we can still get the full race distance. And it's between 12 laps or 25 minutes, whichever comes first. Out of the car, there's the driver that came first, indeed, across the line, getting ready to be interviewed, I'm sure. But Freddie Slater, just the perfect start to 2025. Looked incredible racing in Formula 3 out in Saudi Arabia a few weeks ago. And of course, he's got a very busy year lined up with a lot of driving to do, a lot of races to do, including here in GB3. And like I say, for the Hill Speed team, they have been victorious a few times. Obviously, Nick Gilks took a victory for them back in 2022. We've had Gerard Shee taking victory for them. We've had Daniel Mavliatov taking a lot of victories, to be fair, for the Hill Speed team. And now Freddie Slater gets to chuck his name onto the list. There's Noah Lyle, probably slightly less happier after the race, which, to be fair, second place is a great way to start the season. But it's kind of one of those ones where you're looking at it and thinking the margin of 7 seconds. What can I do about that as a driver? Where am I finding 7 seconds? If it's 1 or 2 seconds, you can think, yeah, it's all right, I can come back tomorrow and be a little bit stronger. But 7 seconds, where do you even start with that margin? That is absolutely crazy. Freddie Slater then, who is ready to be interviewed. Let's head down to John Jackson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lewis. Freddie, you're used to kind of winning stuff wherever you go, and I mean, you've won that by an absolute mile in your first ever GB3 race. That was seriously impressive. How do you feel?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, there was a risk of rain as we were going up into Stowe. There was a big cloud coming, so I knew there was a risk of rain, so I had to keep kind of building my margin to give myself a bit of a cushion. But no, overall super positive. I think the team gave me a great car to go out there and do what I just did. Pace has been good today, and we'll see what we can do tomorrow.
When it comes to this new car, obviously you've not been in it in a race condition so far. Did it behave exactly how you'd imagine, or were there any quirks?
We actually had to make a slight few changes for the regulations for a race run spec car, let's say, similar to what Formula 3 do. So it's a bit of a new thing for all the teams. So we all kind of went into it a bit unknown, so nobody was really sure what was going to happen. But yeah, no, we came out on top and the car was good, so that's the main thing.
In terms of the second race of the weekend tomorrow morning, same plan as today, I guess?
Yeah, same plan. We'll see what the track conditions like in the morning, and should be good fun.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations, Freddie.
Thank you.
There we go. Freddie Slater winning his first race this season in GB3. Of course, competed last time out at Donington Park as well. Let's move on to Noah. Congratulations on your P2 there. Let's talk about how you got into P2.
Yeah, good start, good launch off the line. I don't think anyone had done too many practice starts. It looked like everyone kind of bogged down a bit, but I think we got away with it and managed to make up the position, and had a little look to try and pass Freddie into Maggott and Beckett, but ultimately I think he had the edge on us for speed anyway, so it would have been a hard race from there. But yeah, very happy.
How was it using the DRS out there?
Well, I actually had no DRS the whole race because I was more than a second behind Fred, and then no one else was around me, so I was just pushing my own air.
Well, that'd be a nice little surprise for tomorrow morning as well with the second race of the weekend. What do you think's achievable in that race?
Sorry, say again.
The second race of the weekend tomorrow, what do you think's achievable in that race? Can you challenge?
We'll look overnight to try and find something to get a bit closer to Fred, and then hopefully we can be in a bit more of a fight, but for sure P2 again tomorrow would be achievable, and we'll aim for that. Well,
congratulations again. We'll let you go and get your trophy.
Thank you.
There we go, and we'll move on to Gianmarco Pradel. Congratulations there at a podium in the first GB3 race of the season. How was it out there for you?
Yeah, I mean, after the start, which didn't go the best, yeah, it was just really a big battle. The dirty air in these cars is a lot more than I thought it was going to be, and it's yeah, it was really difficult to stay close. Even within DRS, I wasn't really able to close that gap, but I mean, overall, I felt it was a decent race. Yeah, really consistent. Was able to try and work on a few bits which I needed to. So, yeah, happy with the result. I know there could have been more, but you know, we can always say that.
Knowing what you know now about how these cars behave in a race circumstance situation, what will you change for tomorrow?
I think make the start a bit better. That's the most obvious change. But yeah, I reckon just send it a bit more, and I guess I know how the car can behave a bit better. So yeah, I think we'll see a bit more passing tomorrow.
Well, congratulations again, first podium of hopefully many this season.
Yeah, thanks very much.
There we go. Those were our podium sitters, and we'll chat to some more drivers in a second. But first, Lewis will talk you through the podium.
Yes, indeed. It's always exciting to have the first podium of 2025. Thanks, John Jackson. Of course, they're chatting to our drivers straight after a 21-minute proper challenge around this Silverstone circuit. And yeah, obviously good to hear Noah Lyle. Basically, yeah, I didn't get to test DRS because Freddie was gone. He was absolutely out of here. But of course, as we'll see them onto the podium, Freddie Slater, Noah Lyle, Gianmarco Pradel will be the three drivers to take to it, of course, to open this 2025 season. You would kind of honestly expect Freddie Slater to go on and dominate tomorrow morning as well. It's not going to be an easy one. Whilst we're here and waiting for them to jump up there, I do have potentially some provisional teams championship. Obviously, it's after one race, so this is super early. There's 24 races in the 2025 season. But Rodin will have the lead of the championship. That's not a shock. 45 points to their name. And do remember that it's the top two results of your three drivers. So if for Rodin, for example, you finish 3rd, 4th and 5th, it takes 3rd and 4th as your points for it. Hill Speed will be 2nd. They have 44 points. JHR Developments will be 3rd. They have 41 points. So already, after just one race, no one's checking out, at least on that side of things, as it is just 4 points separating the top three teams. Here comes the drivers then out and on to the podium. And so the first one there will be Gianmarco Pradel. Then, of course, Noah Lyle into 2nd position for JHR Developments. 3 different teams on the top 3 steps of the podium as we await Freddie Slater, our dominant winner for the first race of 2025. An incredible drive, and he's had some great races so far this season, and yeah, shows no signs of stopping as he takes to the top step of the podium here. And of course, with that, we'll have the championship lead. You'll be shocked to hear that, of course. It's going to be a copy and paste for him tomorrow. The only concern that I've got is maybe he might have used a little bit too much of his tyres, but that didn't seem to be phasing him towards the end of the race because he was still going faster than the rest of the field. All the drivers then receiving their trophy and receiving their photographs for the first race of this brand new era in 2025. The first race done in this car, and it is won by Freddie Slater. So that's another little thing to chuck into the notes. Let's go then into highlights for the first race of the season. Highlights from round number 1 of the GB3 Championship in 2025. Before the race even started, Deacon Fairclough had an issue, so was missing from the grid and will be starting from the pit lane. Already though from the race grid, from 3rd position, it was Noah Lyle making a big move and up into the race, into 2nd position in the race. Was attacking for the race lead against Freddie Slater, heading their way down into Maggotts, Beckers and Chapel. It was Abby pulling, running out a little bit wide in the pink highlighted Rodin car as she was dropped back into 5th position. Still though, eyes forward and plenty of moves happening in the middle of the field as Al-Azhari was pushed out by Dion Gowda as they would work their way through what is the village loop section. That was how Kanato Lee lost the cone on the front of the nose of the car, and there was Deegan Fairclough after starting from the pit lane, making up some great moves, getting past Jack Sherwood and up into 17th position. Was struggling though for a move on Hugo Schwarzer, and was struggling behind, picking up a little bit of the dirty air through what was effectively the final corner of that lap and running out wide. Freddie Slater though was absolutely dominant, coming across the line 7 seconds clear of the next car, Noah Lyle. It was a dominant and perfect drive from Freddie Slater to start the new season. Of course, our podium seeing Freddie Slater, Noah Lyle and Gianmarco Prado taking the top three. They all had to bow to the dominance of the Hill Speed driver, the number 27, starting on top in 2025. The new era belongs to Freddie Slater. Let's take a look at the provisional results then from race number 1 of the season. And of course, that excellent drive from Freddie Slater. Like I said, 7 seconds clear of Noah Lyle. Gianmarco Prado will be in 3rd position. So those were the 3 that we caught up with Ninovic and Pulling. Of course, the 2 Rodin cars behind. High-Tech have Nikita Johnson and Al-Azhari in 6th and 7th position, with Will McIntyre, the ex-High-Tech driver, finishing across the line in 8th before we get to Kai Darianani and Dion Gowda to round out the top 10 positions. Then it's Patrick Huitenbode in 11th position, with Yamakoshi and Lee in 12th and 13th. They had a great battle all the way through that race, with Fluxa in 14th position. Samurathan will finish in 15th position, with Hugo Schwarzer being able to keep Deegan Fairclough at bay. Jack Sherwood was able to keep up in 18th position, with Tarvanical in 19th position. Shui would finish just about inside the top 20. And then, of course, the final few positions, Flinjax, Abrahams, Bostangiev and Nandan finishing about a minute off the lead. Of course, the driver missing from that is Bianca Bustamante, who was unable to take to the race start. It was a great race, a really good way to start the season, and very, very exciting indeed. Freddie Slater, I'm sure, will keep up his dominance in the races still to come. Of course, we've got 2 more left to go this weekend. We'll head down, though, into the paddock with Piers.
We're down here getting some reaction from some of our drivers. Didn't quite make it to the podium, but a very strong result on your first GB3 race. Abby Pulling, 5th place. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, great debut, and I tried to go for the podium in Maggotts Beckett's on the first lap. Stuck my nose up the inside, but ended up dropping a position because of it, but gave it a go. Yeah, it was a really fun race. Ended up dropping off a little bit, managing my tyres, trying to be a bit strategic. I then caught up again at the end, but it just wasn't quite enough. Yeah,
Lewis and I in the commentary box are saying, I wonder if this is a tactical play. Of course, we've got a long way to go, still 2 more 25-minute races. How much do you reckon that time management's going to come into play?
It's huge. I mean, we've only got 2 sets over the weekend, so we're using set 1 that we used just then in race 3, the reverse good race. So if you looked after your tyres in that race, then you'll be in a good position for the last one. So there was a little bit of strategy in play there. Well,
Abby, a great start to the season. We'll let you go and cool off as we grab Nikita Johnson, a returning driver for High-Tech TGR this year. Nikita, same championship, different team, but similar result. You get inside the top 10. I can see from your face you're not over the moon, but talk to us about your emotions.
I mean, it's been pretty good. Practice been up and down. We've just been trying to figure out the car. That's the whole thing. When you get a new car, you're trying to go find what works and what doesn't. So we kind of found a good baseline, and then in the race, I wasn't expecting the start to be like that. I dropped the clutch a little bit too fast, and it just engaged really hard and had almost stalled it. So then went back a few positions on that lap, came back forward a little bit, and finished where I started. So it was a bit eventful being mid-pack and like 3 wide and for half the lap, but other than that, I mean, it was a pretty solid race.
Well, part of the fun. We'll see you kick on, I'm sure. Nikita, thanks very much for catching up with us. We're going to grab a new driver to the championship with us, XL Motorsport, for a new team, Dion Gowda. Dion, you must be pretty happy with that result.
Yeah, it was all right. Not done much testing in the car, and team's first race weekend in GB3. So yeah, we did all right. I think there's bits where we can improve on for tomorrow. That's good. We're starting P3, so hopefully we can get a good race there. But no, it was a decent race and a good baseline to work on.
Absolutely. 10th place in the first race of the season, and you're going to be kicking on, I'm sure, in race 2?
Sorry?
You're going to be kicking on. What are you going to try and do in race 2?
Exactly. Then a bit higher up. But yeah, we'll see how we get on tomorrow.
Dion, good start to the season. We'll see how you get on. Thank you very much for chatting with us. And I'll bring in John, once again, hey, that's first.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, I really enjoyed the race. Yeah, I tried my best out there. And oh no, wait, sorry, I'm not the racing driver. I really love the Excel Motorsport car, by the way. Really, I mean, obviously the first time we've seen them racing, really striking car. I love the pink on that, and I mean, a dominant race. I'm hearing Freddie Slater's name mentioned. People were like gathering around here.
Oh, Freddie Slater.
And they're all going Freddie Slater. And what someone just said to me, how many seconds did he win by? I was like 6.6 seconds. They're like, oh, I've already had the message from Jen, who's watching in the United States of America, DM'd me on Instagram going, this Freddie Slater kid's amazing. I was like, I mean, the word's getting out about Freddie Slater. It's a shame he's not doing the full season with us, but I think we're going to have to really look forward to the other races that we see of him this weekend, and that he's in danger of absolutely dominating this weekend, isn't he?
He's looked pretty dominant so far. I was wondering whether he just found something on one lap pace, because he was nearly half a second, 6/10 in qualifying, but then to be able to do that pretty much lap on lap and consistently in the race. I mean, he's one of the hottest properties in young motors, in sort of single-seater feeder series motorsport at the moment. He's got a lot of experience in single-seaters, clearly driving at a high level, but also it gives all the drivers an opportunity or catch him.
And more races coming up, 2 races. Tomorrow we're going to chat to more drivers. I can see Jack Sherwood in the camera, who we'll catch up with. We're here before the race tomorrow. Of course, a returning driver who started in the GB3 Championship as well. 10 to 5 is when the GB4 Championship coverage starts. Our first race of this weekend, and our first race, my first race, your fourth race. So Piers is going to on what we missed at Donington Park a couple of weekends ago as we watch these brand new cars in the GB4 Championship go around. So 10 to 5 is where you can watch exactly where you're watching right now.